Will 2025 be better for our football teams?
Yes, 100%.
I'm not as confident. I am not as confident.
Well, it's a low bar, my friend. I mean, both of our teams are at a low bar. So
I want to remind you that I just went through 2 seasons quite recently that the Browns won 1 game in 2 seasons. It can get worse. And in my opinion, it most definitely will.
It can get worse. You are correct.
But I feel good. If I was predicting, we're not going to do football predictions today, but if I was predicting your season, Dallas, I would say you would do much better in 25 than 24.
I would think so. I would hope so. Yes, I would hope so.
There's no fun in Brownsville.
No.
In 2025.
Just remember, everybody has your story to tell. Tell it well. This old marketing.
And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Pulizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This old marketing. Take it away, boys.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to This Old Marketing, proudly brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. That's right, the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. And I'm Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 461, a special predictions, 2025 predictions episode for Friday, January 3rd, 2025. Happy New Year. And with me, as usual, is my pal, my colleague, and a guy who will be playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns next year, Mr. Joe Pulizzi.
I don't know why I feel like I have to talk about it. I guess it's like therapy on how bad my feelings are regarding the Browns. And yeah, I have a feeling if I had to predict something, I'm predicting they're going to draft a quarterback because they have to.
It would be good. It would be good for them to do that and basically pay big money for a high, there's some good quarterbacks this year.
And this will be the first season in 20 that we're not season ticket holders. And it's interesting. I should actually say this. I got a couple comments on YouTube from people because I did mention a couple episodes ago that we were not re-upping our season tickets for Cleveland Browns. And some people were saying, Joe, you talked about it and you mentioned your wife's letter about how bad you felt about the organization and what they were doing. You should have gave up your tickets then and not. Hey, I will totally take that. I did not give up season tickets when I should have.
Would have, could have. Yeah,
I should have. Absolutely. I think 2 years ago, should have gave it up. And I didn't. And my wife and I made a decision that we were going to see how things went, but don't say I'm giving up the tickets because they have a losing record, because that's not true. Because if that was the case, I would have gave up my tickets 15 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Because they've been bad, way worse years than this last year and it has nothing to do with the winning. It has everything to do with we just are not fans of this management team right now.
Yeah, it's hard to know in the moment. It's hard to know when to pull the trigger in the moment, for sure.
And so we are.
We should have all quit. We should have all quit X sooner than we did. We should have all, boycotted X, way before we did. Nope, none of us are prescient that way.
Speaking of that, they're one of my predictions.
Oh,
I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this predictions episode.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. This is always a fun show where we basically give ourselves grades on how we did last year. We'll do that very quickly because we want to get to our predictions for this year, and then we'll get to our predictions. And I have 4. How many predictions do you have this year?
Well, I actually have 7. But they're very some of these are like quick one-liners.
Same here.
I have a very Bitcoin price prediction in here.
Yeah, we were very philosophical. I went back and obviously did all of the, sort of review so that we could prep for the show and have notes and all that kind of stuff. We don't have AI do that, by the way. We just do it ourselves. We actually.
By the way, we don't have AI do this podcast.
No, exactly. Right.
And
Notebook LM,
which I think is obvious.
Yeah.
But there are more than a few of our friends that took a little hiatus, didn't do special episodes like we did.
That's what they don't. That's how much they care about you, and how much we care about you. That we're on our holiday doing this for you.
We
That's how much
said
we love
that
you.
there are 27 people out there that
Exactly.
really need to hear this, and it's important to you getting 2025 off on the right foot, as they say.
Feet.
Foot.
Yeah. Foot.
And we will be your right foot.
We will be your big toe.
We
as
will
Sergeant
be
Hulkett said.
your
Yes.
left foot.
Yes.
If you need a left foot. Okay. Anyway.
I'm going to be Sergeant Hulkett's big toe. Name that movie.
Sergeant Hulka. Stripes.
There you go.
Whew.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
When I can't get those types of things, that's when you know you need to put me in a home.
Yes. Very quickly.
Stop getting the movie trivia.
Very quickly. Let's look at last year's predictions so that we jump right into this. Your first prediction. So we had 7 in total last year, and we went back and forth. So your first prediction was social media collapse. TikTok and YouTube see big surges as waves of strike of the tsunami hit. I don't even know what that means, but that's how we phrased it. That's how we phrased it.
I thought that the specific one is that the TikTok, because of TikTok's collapse, then YouTube is going to get all sorts of additional advertising.
Yes, and I think I'm going to give you a B+ on that, because while TikTok certainly did not collapse, we did see YouTube become the juggernaut. Right?
The juggernaut
is the
really
number one streaming network right now.
Give me half credit on that, because that one actually was pretty accurate. We did see a lot of inflows from the excesses of X and Twitter, and some people that were unsure about whether the ban on TikTok would happen. It's like, hey, who's going to stick around? Who's getting the results we want? It's YouTube.
That's right.
Who knew?
That's
YouTube
right.
Is kind of the next best thing behind building that newsletter and the podcast. And you see, okay, we're going to do a show on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
I'm giving you a B+.
What do I get?
I'm giving you a B+ or an A on that.
B+. Okay. All right. What's yours? And I'll grade
mine
you.
Mine is not nearly as successful. My first prediction in this time last year was AI goes mainstream as a tool for conversational advertising and behind the scenes marketing work. Right. So I thought, it's going to become like sort of an interactivity, like a chat bot as a paid ad, and doing a lot of behind the scenes marketing work. And none of that came to pass. And in fact, you could argue that the opposite came to pass. But yeah.
Well, but the proliferation of I know you were talking about specifically for marketing, but the proliferation of chatbots in general, I mean, almost every major site has a chatbot run by some kind of AI engine. So you should
but I'm still giving myself a big old F on that one. That's
I don't know. I think because it was AI, I give you a C-.
No, that was too easy. So calling it AI would be too easy. But going mainstream, I think not, because still AI right now in marketing teams is the sexiest thing that no one's doing. I mean, it's just
although I mean, they are running, or they have run, the Coca-Cola ad that was totally AI created, and they've been running. Been running. Yes, people think it's awful, but consumers don't care.
Well,
I don't think they do.
Yes, I agree, but that's the worst of all possible outcomes, right? Is that consumers don't care. I think it's that they don't hate it or they don't love it. They don't care, and that's actually the worst thing that can happen for an ad. So
yeah, that doesn't fill them with delight.
That or hate, right? They don't hate watch it or love it. They just sort of meh, whatever. It's like, yes, it's expected. It's like stock footage. It's like running a whole ad of stock footage. So yeah.
I mean, you are podcast Jesus, and I would.
Okay. All right, we're continuing that meme, are we?
I had to bring it up again. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like my favorite thing right now. It's like I just think of you as podcast Jesus. Okay.
All right.
What was
your second prediction was that brands will go all in on owned media.
Oh,
the prediction you've been making for 10 years.
I say that every year, and every year it doesn't happen. I get it. It's an F. It's an F.
It's an F this year, because I think actually it was more than most years. It was a one where brands sort of shied away from doing anything with owned media.
Well, I think that even worse than that, they went in even further on advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with social. Maybe 24 was the year of the storytelling social ad, if you will. I've seen more and more of those.
Yeah,
but they're
sure.
still ads.
Product inclusion. The big thing I see now is the product inclusion in Instagram and TikTok videos, right? Where they're looking at influencers to say, that do their usual shtick, but that they do it with with a sponsored product in their hand, and that's the biggest trend I see in terms of media and ads.
Like the Snoop stove.
Yeah, there's the Snoop stove, which is more of a mainstream media kind of idea. But then there's sort of like TikTok influencers who, like maybe for example, they might dance, right? So maybe they're an influencer, and then their shtick every time that they do a video is dancing to music. And so in a particular video, they'll dance, but they're wearing, Skechers shoes, or they're wearing a special brand of shoes. And then they go, I wouldn't be able to dance this good if I didn't wear my, and they point to the product. It's like, and then you can click on the link right there and go buy it, like it's in TikTok shop. So
yeah, and it works. It's working in some cases.
It's really working. Yeah, it's definitely working.
All right. What was my next, or what was your next one?
My next one. Yeah, my next one, my second one, which was local news and journalism make a big comeback. Wah, wah, wah,
yes. Speaking of that, and it's not, I don't have it in my predictions, but the news desert is a huge problem right now. We have a lack of local news around the United States that is at the worst levels that they've ever been at, and they've got to figure out a problem, because there's so many things happening on a local level that don't get covered.
Yeah.
And that's how you slide laws through.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Shouldn't be slid at all.
Yeah. I mean, journalism right now is in a big world of hurt right now. Local news and national news too, right? All the big CNN.
It is national news, but I would say more on the local and state level is where you really see it. Like you don't see anybody at these local council meetings or the state government meetings and things like that. That's where it's just, you used to have 3 or 4 or 5 journalists cover, like let's say at a state representative meeting, and now you don't have anybody. If you're lucky, if you're lucky, maybe one, but probably not. So
that's right.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
So okay. All right.
Your next one was also a big fat F. Your next one, X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, sees huge advertising turnaround. When I read this one, I was like, did he really say that? And I went back and listened. Like, yeah, he really did say it.
So let's not even talk about that, because I want to talk about it again in the next session.
Okay.
But you can give me an F on that. For 20.
Trust me, I'm giving you
24. You give me an F. But I got more to come on that one.
Yeah.
All right. So
okay.
What was your next one?
My next one was newsletters continue hot streak, and the rise of creator referral networks have more creators, and then more creators stop producing their lagging podcasts. And I'm going to give myself a C on that one.
Well, the newsletter wave, of course. That's an A+.
And the creator referral networks too. Those definitely made
one. You're giving yourself a not.
Basically what I was saying was the creators were going to be part of these new referral networks where you could go buy, and that is true. That's now a thing, right? Where you can actually go to these platforms where creators and influencers are represented, and you can actually engage those through these platforms.
Sure.
But then I said that more creators would stop producing podcasts. I thought podcasts would be in for sort of a waning, and that's just not true at all. Like we talked about last week, podcasts.
So basically you had an A and an F all in one.
So I'm giving myself a C, right? So
I think that's a solid C. Nice job.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then your last one was AI-driven news networks will start to emerge, and there's an AI running for president in 2028.
Well, yeah. So we knew that we don't know yet. We have to come back to the second.
We have to come back to the second part, but yeah.
On the AI-driven news, I'm going to give myself a D+ on that one, because
it's happening. It is happening.
It's not quite there, but it is happening. You can see that. You've got somebody in our network. They just did a 30-minute webinar report, and they did the whole thing, and they had their AI person their doppelganger do it, and nobody knew that it was not them doing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's absolutely possible with Notebook LM doing all these podcasts. It covered. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm getting old. Just like,
yeah.
Meh. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
There you go.
Okay. So basically, there's a big pile of poo. was our 2023 predictions, the year of the poo prediction.
We were not good this year. Yeah, we were not good for 24. We
Some years
we
get
normally
a
do a little
diamond.
better than we did last year.
Some years are silver, some years are gold, some
Yeah.
years are diamonds. This year's a big pile of poo.
Yeah. Would you like to go first with so now we move to the segment of the show, which would be our predictions for the coming year. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'd be happy to go. I'd be happy.
Why don't
to
you go first since you have so many more than I do?
So yeah, I don't know why I do this because I like being wrong. I think
owned me. Apple will buy.
No. I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to build on a couple of ones that I got wrong last year. And I'm going to keep trying to see if they're going to work. My number one is Bluesky, the amazing competitor to X and Threads. Their growth will stall. They'll become just a niche player at best, in my opinion.
You're saying OpenAI will become a niche player.
What's that?
You're saying OpenAI will become a niche player?
No. Bluesky.
Bluesky. Sorry.
No. Bluesky, growth stalls, become a niche player, and at the same time, X definitely gains momentum.
Oh God.
Probably buys True Social, or they wrap that together in one. Revenues will be up for X over 24 into 25 next year. Bluesky down. And the reason why I want to, by the way, I don't have Bluesky. I've seen and talked to a lot of people using it. The good and the bad part of Bluesky. The good part about Bluesky is that it doesn't create this algorithm for you. That's also the bad part about it. You actually have to make your own feed.
Sure.
And it's wonderful, but you don't build audiences quick enough.
Well, you don't build audiences anywhere anymore. So that's the point.
Well, yeah. There you go. So that's my take.
It's definitely, I don't disagree at all that it remains a niche player, but I think that becomes sort of the point, is that it is a niche player, because
I think that
social media, but social media as we know it is really a niche player anymore, right? Social media has fundamentally changed so much with TikTok and the way that Insta and Facebook do their algorithmic.
Everybody gets their own niche news feed, is basically what you're talking about.
Exactly. And it ends up being, they all become niche, right? They all become, with the exception of, I would say Facebook continues its sort of dominance. This is not an official prediction. This is just me riffing off of yours, but I would say that Facebook continues its dominance as the biggest player, because there's no reason to think that they won't. But I actually also have, as one of my predictions, X buying Truth Social, but I think that becomes another niche player. And then you've got Bluesky, and then you got Threads, and then you've got, sort of the micro blogging platforms become niche.
Still, X has 245 million active users. It's significant. The daily active users on Threads just don't seem to be catching up. Bluesky's really super small. We'll see. Maybe it's a non-issue for marketers.
I think it is. I think it is a non-issue for marketers. Yeah.
You have you have your big four that we sort of
they're
talked
just
about
another media channel. Social media is just media. The social has come out of social media.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's just media. You're right. The biggest, most influential media company in the world right now, TikTok.
Yep. 100%.
So, yeah. Okay. What do you got? What do you
got? Well, I'll just continue on that, because I'll skip down to my other one, which is about TikTok. TikTok is not banned. I predict it will not be banned here in the US, and will become even bigger and stronger in 25.
Boy, I hate to agree with you on that. I mean, that I really felt that it was going to be banned, but now the tide has turned. And it seems like, as we record this, we don't know what SCOTUS is going to do, but it seems like there's so much US money and influence built into TikTok. They're going to find a way to make sure it remains.
Well, there's that. And then there's also the, what happened, if they ban it, I mean, I was having this discussion the other day, like about the new Florida law with regard to, basically it preventing children from signing up for social media. And how do you reconcile those two things where you say, well, we're banning social media from kids, and yet free speech is still a thing, right? So I think they're going to have, in order to reconcile those two, so I think none of these social media companies really want to ban TikTok, because the precedent that would set, which is, by the way, my prediction is that SCOTUS comes back and says, okay, I think one or multiple of them, mostly on the conservative side, will recuse themselves from deciding, so they won't have a plurality in the decision. And not having a plurality in the decision will say, oh, we can do things like either not ban it or ban it. And even if they ban it based on a non-plurality vote, it doesn't set precedent. So they're basically, SCOTUS could totally take a powder on this and make a non-decision.
You're probably right. I'm sensing you are. As I know, as everyone listening to this knows, I'm so against TikTok and Temu and the other Chinese apps, not for privacy, but for sentiment movement. I think it's a big issue that nobody's talking about, but whatever, all I keep thinking about is what was that Kingsman movie where Samuel L. Jackson, they did the virus in the phones and they all blew people's heads off.
Yeah.
Something like that's gonna happen.
Kingsman, isn't it? Isn't that Kingsman?
Yeah, Kingsman. Whatever the first Kingsman is.
Yeah.
Then there's a third Kingsman and the second, whatever.
That movie is all right. That movie is surprisingly raunchy. That movie.
Yes, you got to tread lightly going into that one. You got to see who's in the room.
That's not one to watch with the kids, folks. Yeah.
If you're watching it on stream, you got to look back and say, who's watching this one?
Yeah,
with me. All right, should we do one more before we get to our?
Do one more.
Do one more.
Here? What's your next one?
All right, so this is a little bit different. Researchers identify major. I don't know whether they're going to call it a disease, but they're going to name it, where it's a condition of phone usage addiction. They haven't really called it a thing. I think in 2025, they're going to call it a thing where you're addicted to your phone. You're hooked up to too much social media. They're going to say because of the severe depression issues, the mental illness, the suicidal tendencies, those types of things. It's given a name and it starts to work a minor movement. It won't go anywhere.
Interesting.
It won't go anywhere ultimately because I think there's too much money and influence on the other side of that. But I do think it's called a name, and you're going to see maybe some people on Capitol Hill, maybe some lobbyists start to work behind this thing and to try to help people change their behavior around it. But it's going to be named a thing.
So, okay.
There you go.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's
so
really
you got the thing, like you whatever. No, I'm not saying you have it.
Yeah, it's basically going to be identified as
you're on your phone for more than 6 hours a day. You're doing this, and this, and you're feeling this way. You have X.
But do you think that becomes a nationally sort of FDA recognized thing, or does that just become something that becomes part of the culture? In other words, with the Trump administration, I can't see that becoming.
No, I don't believe I don't believe it starts with the government. I think there is some major research or some paper that's linked to a lot of really amazing social media that goes out saying that they got the thing, because there's nothing this government's going to do in the next 4 years. They're not going to try to regulate anything.
Yeah.
So that absolutely not. But it'll start to gain momentum outside of government. And then you'll see in certain constituencies, you'll see some political movement around it, but not during that presidency.
And it'll be interesting because I actually have my last prediction which I'm saving for the very end, is I have a Trump prediction for this.
Oh.
For this.
Wait,
But-
let's hold.
Yeah,
So
let's
give
hold
me
that.
give me give me your other one, and then we'll go to.
My other one, my other one is very quick, which is that the top 4 companies by market cap all exceed $4 trillion in 25. That would be Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, and Amazon.
Okay, so for context, how many of them are over 3 right now?
2, 3.
Apple
sorry,
and
3.
Nvidia
Yep,
are over 3.
Apple is at 3. So current today,
Yeah.
Apple is at 3.8. Nvidia is at 3.3, although that has flipped, back and forth based on stock price over the last couple of months. Nvidia actually took over as number 1 for a month or so. And then Microsoft is at 3.2 and Amazon is at 2.3. And so is Google, the Goog
So
Alphabet
4
is
of
at
the
2.3.
the 4 will be
The 4, I'm predicting 4. It might be Amazon, it might be Google, but I'm predicting 4 of them at a market cap of over $4 trillion by the time we get to
4 trillion. I like that.
Well, we get to this time 26. Yep.
Since you did that really quickly, my other financial one is I have Bitcoin over 200,000.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So-
That does. I normally I would be you're smoking something with that, but I'm not this year. This year, I think that could very well come true.
Well, I don't know. I tend to be a little bit wrong, a little bit too early on some of these predictions, but I do feel that with the number of traditional financial dollars going in, that's the change. This is not being driven by retailers at all. This is being driven by major financial institutions, and that's why we've seen the change.
All right.
Good. Awesome.
Speaking of us, so I predict that This Old Marketing gets to a $4 trillion valuation as well. And to do that, we should probably pay a couple of bills.
Do you feel like your leads never lead anywhere? And you're making content that no one sees, and it takes forever to build a campaign? Well, that's why we built HubSpot. It's an AI-powered customer platform that builds campaigns for you, tells you which leads are worth knowing, and makes writing blogs, creating videos, and posting on social a breeze. So now, it's easier than ever to be a marketer. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Can I be direct for a moment? Direct about a podcast? That's the DTC Pod. The DTC Pod, hosted by Ramon Barrios and Blaine Bolus, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network. And it's about all things direct-to-consumer. Ramon and Blaine cover everything from starting, growing, and optimizing e-commerce direct-to-consumer brands. They talk with founders, marketers, platforms, creators, and marketing and growth agencies to cover all kinds of topics like brand building, social media, influencer marketing, website conversion, paid media, Facebook ads, consumer trends, email marketing, and if you can believe it, more. That's right. Find DTC Pod wherever you follow your favorite podcast.
That's like your favorite song.
It's an easy one. Yeah, it's an easy one. It's good for ads. Yeah,
it's good. That's your AI generated.
That's the AI generated thing. Funny enough, I don't have an AI music one. I played with Sora, by the way.
Oh yeah, do you like it?
I do not. I find it mostly useless. Yeah, I find it frustrating. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
I have not tried to
I just don't. I've tried a few things, and the things that I'm interested in it doing, it won't do, because you have to have, what is it? There's some sort of special access you have to have for it to do people. Like to have it, to have do people, like you have to pay for the $200 a month version.
Oh, to get
access to be able to do people like you. Like, I wanted it to do me in a, Prince Valiant costume or something. There's a sexual joke.
Yeah, we're not talking marketing anymore, are we? Podcast Jesus. All right. Where we go from here? What's the next one?
Sorry.
I don't know. I can just imagine that you're playing with Sora, and then all of a sudden Elizabeth walks in and is like, whoop, whoop. What are you trying to make, Robert? What are you trying to do there?
Oh my!
You're like, no, that's Kingsman. That's
Don't
just
go.
Kingsman.
I have in my will to basically hit clear cache on my search history. Yeah. Okay.
Oh shoot.
All right.
Okay, who's
I'm
next?
crying. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one is that GenAI in 25 stumbles big. And I don't mean technologically. Although I guess it is technologically in idea, but I think it's going to go get faster and better and all the stuff around the sort of trope that is, this is the dumbest AI you've ever used because the next one will be so much better. But what I mean is that there's going to be an event of some kind. And I don't know whether it's a deep fake or whether it's a big mistake or whether it's something where it's going to cause a big ripple across the, whether it's a fake out or purposely done or something where it's going to cause a big thing in 25.
That was a prediction for a lot of people in 24. It never really
I know.
happened. So we think the 25 is going to be the year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a pretty good one. I think the odds of that happening are 51%.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And by the way, I also think simultaneously, because that's Gen AI, right? That's the Gen AI. I also believe that there is just as much of a likelihood of AI solving something very important in science or some big mathematical challenge or something like that, where the scientists or researchers are going to come out and go, AI helped us basically, find a cure for breast cancer or, something like that. So it's going to be, I think there's one of those coming as well.
I agree with you on something big, but it's not cancer. It's basically male pattern baldness. That's
right.
That's what it's going to cure.
Yes.
You think I'm joking? That's it. That's the first, because honestly, most of the people working on this behind the scenes are men, and their biggest problem is baldness. That's why. It's focus, people.
Oh man.
It's not the most important thing, but to the people working on the Gen AI stuff and the big AI stuff, it's
there you go.
Look
Gen AI.
Gen AI.
Gen AI meets the patriarchy. Okay. I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm not a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Look at the before and after of like Elon.
Oh well,
then,
yeah.
Elon, and look at Zuckerberg. Yeah. They've all had some hair issues.
Yes. Elon's
what I'm talking
about.
Well,
Elon had plugs, and then he didn't have plugs. He had some sort of hair restoration thing that worked for him.
Yeah. He spent $1 billion per follicle.
Yeah, I would not doubt that.
No,
I would not doubt that.
It's fantastic though what he's done with his hair.
Yeah.
It's beautiful hair. Okay,
yeah. What's your
mine?
Next one? Yeah,
mine is I don't know how to state the tragic nature of what's going to happen or the event that's going to happen, but it's going to be around online sports gambling.
Oh.
And there are things that it gets so bad in the United States that something happens, and I don't want to say what it is, and I'm like, it's gonna be like you said, there's something bad that's gonna happen with the AI. There's something that's gonna happen with sports gambling. Culmination, it's gonna look like, wow, there's way more bankruptcies. There's way more people losing their job. There's way more mental illness. There's a lot of things that are going to happen, and I don't know what the why it just hits the news and everybody starts talking about it, but it's going to be something around that because the stats are horrible and they're getting worse in every country that it's legalized in. And I think that since the United States, basically states started we repealed the act in 2018 that you couldn't have sports gambling anymore. We left it up to the states, and now I think 39 states have legalized sports gambling. And you can now measure side by side the difference between one state that legalized it and the other state that doesn't, and see the catastrophe that it's causing. And not enough people are talking about it. And now that it's baked in, I mean, the other day I was watching the Cowboys game, and every other ad is a sports gambling ad.
Yeah.
and the in-game ads too. They're
Yeah.
baked into all these professional institutions,
And they're baked
now.
into the pre-shows as well. They're all baked into the sort of the run-up shows, right? You know, on Fox and on CBS.
So we've normalized this behavior that shouldn't have been normalized. And I'm not talking about gambling. I'm specifically talking about the online sports betting.
Sure.
Because of the ease of use and the addictive nature and the predatory acts of some of these companies.
Yeah.
Like FanDuel, like
DraftKings. It's a little less here in California because it's not legal here in California, so we don't see it as much, but you see it in the ads for sure.
Yeah, here in Ohio, it's completely legal, and
Yeah.
it's
I'm
really
sure it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really, and it's kind of one of my issues that it's on my mind almost all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, besides talking about it and making people aware of what's going on, I don't know what to do about it. By the way, just a little shout out to Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis has a series called Against the Odds. I think it's Against the Odds. If I get that wrong, I'll correct it. It's a 7-part series on sports gambling, online sports, specifically what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So hats off to Michael. I've only listened to the first couple episodes, but they're already fantastic. I'm going to listen to the rest of it.
Wow.
So
okay.
There you go. So I don't like making that prediction.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's an odds-on prediction for sure. Yeah, for sure.
We'll see where that goes. All right, what do you got?
All right, so I have my biggest and bold prediction for last. This is my last one.
Yeah.
So are you ready for this? President Trump is not president by the end of the year. How about that?
Wait. By the end of the year?
Yeah,
by the time we do this episode next year?
No. That's because the time this episode comes out is January 3rd.
No. By the time we do our next predictions episode, which would be in end of 25 or 26. Correct. You're saying that Donald Trump will not be president.
That is correct.
Okay. Do you have some context?
I do not. I don't know. I'm not going to add anything lest I be pounced upon by the NSA. But I'm just going to predict that he is not president by the end of the year. There's my prediction. That's bold. I mean, it's bold and specific.
Bold. That's bold and the beautiful.
Yep.
Both of them.
Well, it's not necessarily a good thing. Let's just be very clear. It's not necessarily a good thing either way.
Well, all I can say is 25 is going to be very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And we are doing a predictions episode on a very unpredictable.
It's going to be a wild ride for sure. 25 is going to be a wild ride. I think it's going to be good. I'm feeling bullish on the year, generally speaking, from a business perspective and from a marketing perspective and from a life perspective. I think it's going to be bullish. I also think it's going to be very similar to 2016, 2017, where it's going to be highly annoying.
Yes, I think my bigger concern, I have lots of concerns, but I was talking with a small business owner the other day, works in the trades, and they're very concerned that they're even going to have a business in the next 6 months because the tariffs affect them the most.
I really don't think those are coming. I really don't.
I hope not. I hope that it's just a bargaining chip that we're using because because they happened in 16 and 17. And in a lot of cases, you saw a lot of small businesses go out of business in the United States because they couldn't. They're paying the other. Just so people know how tariffs work, the other countries that the tariffs are against, they don't pay for them. The people that pay for them, the additional tax, are the United States companies that want to buy from those other countries.
Right.
And unfortunately, you could say whatever you want to. A lot of things like nails and other equipment aren't made in the United States anymore. So they're made in other countries. We just don't have the manufacturing facilities anymore. We have completely globalized that. And we count on trade activities to do that. So there are certain categories that tariffs are going to go against that we don't have a replacement. We can't say buy American. There is no American.
Right. But to be clear about something, and this is something I've been saying a lot to my friends and family who are worried about this stuff and are basically doing this, right? Defining tariffs and saying what this will do and all those kinds of, they know this goes right to one of my friends who who said something to me about corporate life 7 years ago. He said, in a big corporation, it's not what you do, it's what they think you do. And there's a lot of truth to that we've talked about on other shows, but in government, these days, it's absolutely the truth. It is not what they actually do, it is what their constituents think they do. And so, this was brought to me front and center when I watched two people online argue about Trump's tax plan, right? Who the guy was really mad about the taxes that he's been paying over the last few years because of quote unquote Biden's tax plan. And of course, Biden never got no tax plan. Everything we've been living under until middle of this coming year is under the Trump tax plan that got passed back in 2018, I believe it was 2019, maybe it was. And that's so that doesn't matter. It's what they think, right? It's what and a lot of what I believe that side of the fence is, both sides of the fence do it, but one side is doing it more than the other, which is you speak and as if it's done, as if it's a thing, and as if it's really real. Doesn't matter if you don't do it or not. It's what they think you did.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
in many ways, we just have to stop being outraged at the bluster and just wait till it actually happens. It's like, don't get outraged by what they say. Get outraged by what they do.
Well, yes. Although I put this in my newsletter last week, there's been a lot of talk, especially with RFK Jr. coming into the fold and working with. They're talking about vaccines and autism. And there's been an increased talk about, oh my God, vaccines cause autism. Okay. If you want to ask the question, why are so many kids diagnosed with autism today? That's a fine question. But don't, every time you ask that question, don't say vaccines, because there's no scientific evidence of that happening. And it's a very personal issue to me. And I cannot stand it when people close to me start talking about, well, did your kid get a vaccine? And maybe that's, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm going
I hear you.
Stop it with the insane comments, because, and the reason why, like, to your point, in a lot, somebody says it and it's like, oh, it must be true. Yeah. Because somebody said it. And then now we've got a whole thing going again about vaccines and autism, which we still haven't gotten rid of the first time it made the rounds. Exactly. About not being real. So anyways, it's very frustrating.
We could get off on a rant about that.
I don't know if you could tell. I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay. I have two more.
Okay.
They're real quick. But I think it's worth it, since I put the work in and did the extra work on an extra prediction, that I should be allowed to say it.
All right. Stop clearing your throat and just do it.
I don't know how to measure this.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible. In 2025, of the podcasts that existed up to the end of 24, half will shut down. Half of all podcasts will stop producing consistently and shut down.
Okay, but is it a net loss of 50%, or is it how do you do the net loss of that?
Like, I don't know. Like, I want to know, like, if there were podcasts going on from start of podcast, whatever that started, to 2024, half of those will not survive.
I think that's already happening.
No, I'm just saying, but
I think it's like 90%
from now. From right now, I'm saying, it's already,
you think half of the
already happening.
Yeah. This is an unclear prediction. So you think half
of all the consistent podcasts that are happening on December 31st, 2024.
Define consistent.
At least once a month.
Okay. And have been running for
for some period of time.
Okay. Like more than 10 episodes.
More than 10 episodes.
Right. Because that's if the last math I saw said that it was like 95% of the podcasts that are on the iTunes store and on Google Play were less than 3 episodes or something like that, or 4 episodes.
That's absolutely, most of them. I don't know if I heard like 2/3 or whatever, but I get your point.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that a lot of the consistent podcasts that are going on right now, end up dying. They stop.
Basically, you think there's a reckoning, if you will.
There's a reckoning. They're going to see
reckoning
more and
coming
more
for podcasts.
There's basically what I think is they're going to be the haves and have-nots. You're going to have the 1%ers that are going to keep going, that are successful, and you're going to have all these people that can't figure out how to gain an audience. They're just going to stop doing it. They're going to do something else.
So you think there's going to be have and have-nots, and it's the have-nots will be sort of those middle-tier players like us, for example, that don't know when to shut up, basically.
Well, the good news is we absolutely have no idea when to stop.
Right.
So we will continue on.
That's right.
Everyone else will stop.
Right. I get it.
Yeah. So
I get it.
And then so there's that one.
Okay.
And the other one is 5 major brands in 2025 will consistently use their old advertisements in social and on television. And I'm thinking of names like Nike and
you're
Procter
going back like a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, you're going to see a big nostalgia
fantastic
play.
Prediction.
Big nostalgia play, but I wanted to be specific. I just want to say, oh, people are going to use old commercials. I'm going to say 5 major brands that we know and love are going to use social ads and television ads or streaming ads, whatever you want to say, of very old commercials. And I'm going to say over 10 years.
I think that's
maybe
a
over
fantastic
20. Prediction.
I could see absolutely. That's my favorite of your predictions. That's a really interesting one. Yeah.
It's definitely the nostalgia play. I think it's in vogue for 2025.
I think nostalgia comes back in a big way in 25. I think that's the bigger prediction. I think I think nostalgia comes back in culture in a big way in 25. I think that's absolutely
we long for the days of yore.
Yep.
Well, I give your predictions an A-, not knowing where they're going to go.
Okay.
I don't know if I like the Trump prediction. We will see.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, I don't think I don't like it or dislike it. I just think I'm predicting it. Yeah.
I don't know what that means. It means, do we even have a government?
I don't know. I'm keeping it vague.
I want more specifics, but it's okay.
Well, I don't. But that context.
It's a big enough call.
There's a lot of context.
That's a big enough call. That's a big enough call. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I could just as easily see him quitting. Like he just says, I'm done. It would not surprise me if in August of this coming year, he just goes, I don't feel like doing this anymore. I'm just going to, because remember his only reason for wanting to do this is to stay out of jail. I mean, that's really it. I don't think he wants to be president anymore. I think the reason for running was quite simply so that he would stay out of jail.
Well, maybe, but now he loves it. He loves the power. Loves the power.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So, but I don't.
So should we do our football?
We don't get political on this show.
Yeah, no, that's true. But we just did, of course. We just did. We absolutely did. Do you want to do the football, or do you want to save that for the next episode?
Let's quickly do the football.
Okay, very quickly do the football. Okay, so here we go. The predictions that we had this year. So we can't really finalize the predictions because we don't know. By the time this airs, we'll probably have a really good feel for it. But I think we have a pretty good feel for it right now.
I think we're good. We're pretty darn close.
So one of my favorites is we opened up the episode by talking about the new kickoff. And Joe, you predicted that we'd have 4 or more kickoff returns by a single player this year for touchdowns.
Did Turpin do it? That's my question.
Turpin did not do it.
Turpin
had 2, I believe.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, Turpin is amazing. Yeah, Turpin is amazing. Okay. But yeah, no, it didn't result in any of the things that we really thought it might. So moving on to
there weren't as many kickoff returns as I wanted. It didn't work.
It didn't become the sort of breakout thing that we thought it might. Okay. The AFC Championship, your Final Four, which I realized in going back and reviewing, we didn't really do it right because we didn't do it by division. So interesting.
Okay. What do we got?
But it doesn't matter. So your Final Four were the Chiefs, the Jets, the Jets, Bengals, and the Texans.
Okay.
And then you had the AFC Championship game of being the Jets versus the Texans, which is just not going to happen, of course. And you said Aaron Rodgers is going to be the comeback player of the year. And then you said the champs for the AFC could be the Texans. Now that could still happen. The champs could be the Texans, although it's highly unlikely with the way that the Chiefs and the Bills are playing right now. My AFC Final Four were the Dolphins, as bad as the Jets, Texans, Bills, and Bengals. So I got 3 options there. I think Bengals.
No,
probably
Bengals are out. Bengals are out.
Oh, that's right. They're out now. That's right.
Bengals
They got taken. Yeah, they're out.
So we both got 2.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I got Chiefs, Texans, and you got.
And I had Dolphins, Texans as the champs, and the Texans taking. So we both thought the Texans were going to take the AFC.
But Texans are going to make the playoffs.
And I said, here's the dumbest thing that I said. The dumbest thing I said is Chiefs are done. I said Chiefs are washed. I said
it's amazing how they just continue.
They're
to
just
win these
unbelievable.
Games.
Good Lord!
Talk about a winning culture. It is amazing how they do it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the actual rankings right now are Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, which neither of us talked about.
No.
Texans and Ravens.
I didn't think Russell Wilson would be as good as he has been.
Yeah.
So that's a big surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't. Josh Allen has been amazing.
Josh Allen
is
for
the Bills, and the Chiefs just find a way to win. They're not a great team.
No,
they just win.
They've
got a really good all-around team.
Chiefs, same thing. By the way, Chiefs, same thing.
That's what I thought with the Chiefs. Yeah.
So many of their games have come down to field goals or single scores. Okay, NFC. So starting with me, my Final Four for the NFC were the Cowboys, Eagles, San Francisco, and Detroit. So I got close to that.
So you got Detroit,
San Francisco,
and
but Cowboys.
What was the other one you got right?
Detroit and the Eagles, the
other two. So we're 2 of 4. Okay, 2 of 4, both of us on the AFC.
Yeah,
you're 2 of 4 on the NFC.
That's correct. Was I on I had the NFC Championship game of San Francisco and Dallas, and the winner being San Francisco, which is not going to happen at all. It's going to be, I think it's going to be Eagles and Detroit, and I think Detroit takes it. So.
Well, what was my? I'm still in it.
So your NFC, where this is where it gets amusing. Packers, Rams. You were all in on the Rams. Detroit and Cowboys. You said
I got Eagles. I got 3 of 4. 3 or 4 are going to make the playoffs.
I think the Rams are going to make the
Rams
playoffs.
are going to make it.
You get okay. So there's 3 or 4.
Okay.
You said the Eagles would have a losing record at 8-9. Which was interesting.
Saquon Barkley for the win.
Saquon Barkley for the MVP.
Oh, my God. So good.
Packers and Rams is who you said would be the championship game, and you said that the Rams would take it. So
I have the Rams taking the whole thing.
Yeah, the actual, by the way, are Lions, Eagles, Rams, Bucks, and Vikings. But the Bucks may actually fall out now that the Cowboys beat them this Sunday. So we'll see what happens. Atlanta.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen since we recorded this, but right now, I said I had the Rams winning the entire thing, and I still could be right.
You still could be right with that. You were not going to be, but you could be. Yeah. You're super. To be clear, my Super Bowl was Texans and San Francisco. That's not going to happen at all. Yours were Jets and Rams Super Bowl, and of course, you're taking the Rams. That are going to take it. You could be half right on that.
I could be half right, but the Rams win, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah,
it's going to be amazing. Cooper Kupp is going to come through. Going to do some amazing things.
Yeah, and then finally, your MVP prediction was Jordan Love, which is absolutely not going to happen. And my MVP prediction, he had a good year. Yeah. My MVP prediction was CJ Stroud, which is also not going to happen. Actual right now in the running that obviously hasn't been named yet, but Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon takes it. I think Saquon is going to set the record for most rushing yards in a season.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I could be Josh Allen though.
It could be Josh Allen. He's playing lights out.
So good. So good.
Yeah. And our team records, I predicted Cowboys would go 11-6. They are very lucky not to go 6-11. I think they'll probably go 8-9 now. Although they may go 9-8 if they'd have to beat Philly next week, but that's going to be weird. And your Browns, you said we're going to go 8-9, And that's obviously not going to happen.
I do want a little bit of credit because I think 2 weeks later, I came on another show and said that they would end up 3-14 or 4-13 or something like that. And I'm going to be real close to that.
In the prediction show, you said they would have a winning record if Jameis Winston had started the whole season. You said they will go. You said because they're going to start Deshaun Watson. You said it's likely to be a
9
bloodbath. Yeah,
yeah,
and you were right about that. You were.
It was even worse.
Yeah,
everybody could see. Everybody could see this. Yeah. Everybody knew.
There you go.
Except everyone in the Browns front office.
Exactly. Right.
Dumb.
Yes.
Oh.
All right.
Thank goodness the season is going to be over soon.
Oh God, yeah, right.
What a horrible season.
It's not a great season for anybody.
Anyways, but it was fun talking about it for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I remember
we'll do it again.
1-1.
We'll do it again next year.
I flew to Jacksonville to watch them play.
Yeah, you did.
Waste of money.
Yeah,
good time though.
I mean, things could be worse. You could be the New York Giants or the Raiders. You know,
they can't be much worse.
Yeah,
we got no money to spend on anything.
Yeah,
wish we had Cooper Rush.
You might actually at the end of the you might. He might actually leave and go somewhere and be a starter.
All right, fun episode.
Yes,
that was good.
Indeed.
You can sign us out.
Indeed. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much. And happy New Year. Happy New Year to all of you. Hoping 25 is an amazing, productive, wonderful, joyous, fruitful year for all of you. Thank you so much for listening to us chatter on for so often. And we will see you again next week with a regular old episode with the news and covering everything that's happening in the early parts of 2025. And until then, until we see you next week, just remember it's your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing. Hey, thanks a lot for making it this far in this week's episode, and thank you all for being a part of This Old Marketing. You can check out all the show notes of what we talked about today at thisoldmarketing.com, and it's also where you can leave us a review or a voicemail. We need those reviews and comments on whichever platform you follow us on. And if you haven't followed the podcast, please go do that and make sure you catch the latest and greatest episodes every Friday morning. We're on Apple and Spotify and all your other favorite podcatchers, of course, but we'd love it if you went over and subscribed to us on YouTube. That's right, YouTube. youtube.com/@thisoldmarketing. We'll see you again next week, folks, with another episode of This Old Marketing.